So, hier ist nochmal der Martin. Ich muss kurz nochmal stören.
Ja, hallo.
Hi, ich bin jetzt in dem passiven Raum. Wäre super, wenn ihr mich kurz deaktivieren würdet.
Ja,
Das machen wir, danke.
039. Habe ich mir aufgeschrieben.
So I'm host.
Natalia's host because she's setting up the
Meet. I'm host.
We should give back to you.
Yeah. Let me.
Because she's setting up the
Nochmal stören.
Ja, Martin, hi.
Hi, ich bin jetzt in dem passiven Raum. Wäre super.
Wir sind dabei. Felix kümmert sich gerade drum. Ist erledigt anscheinend. Wenn du uns nur noch sprechen kannst, dann ist was falsch. Nach Microsoft, was kommt dann? Kannst du mal weiterklicken? Ja, Martin, hi.
In dem passiven Raum. Wäre super.
Felix kümmert sich gerade drum.
Das war gerade ziemlich schräg. Ihr habt gerade aus dem passiven Raum meine Ansage zweimal gehört, ein paar Sekunden versetzt.
Ja,
Das
hi.
war gerade sehr, sehr eigenartig.
Okay, aber jetzt müsste das erste nur noch die.
Entschuldigung bitte, kannst du noch mal wiederholen?
Ja, jetzt müsste der passive quasi nur noch Attendee sein und der
Perfekt.
bleibt aktiv.
Perfekt, super. Vielen Dank.
Kannst du noch
Für
mal
euch habe
checken?
Mache ich gleich.
Also,
Für euch habe ich noch kurz zwei Hinweise. Wenn Friederike mit ihren Kollegen spricht, bist du super gut zu verstehen. Wenn du für die Adressaten sprichst, sprichst du sehr, sehr laut und dein Raum klingt sehr, sehr hallig. Würde ich fast vermeiden. Ich vermute, das Mikro ist sehr weit weg bei euch.
Neben mir.
super nah dran.
Okay, dann schrei einfach bitte nicht so.
Bei welchem Teil?
Na,
Okay, das
wenn
weiß
du
ich nicht,
zu
ob ich das kann.
wenn du zu deinen Kollegen sprichst, klingt das super gut, man hört den Raum kaum. Wenn du uns quasi ansprichst, sprichst du sehr kräftig und laut und man hört den Raum sehr, sehr stark.
Okay.
Nur als kleiner Hinweis würde ich versuchen zu vermeiden, klingt ein bisschen professioneller. Und als zweitens, das Bild, was ihr uns sendet, ist nicht Vollbild.
Was
wie
meinst
ist das
du?
Bild?
Das Bild vom Mac, die Folien sind nicht Vollbild.
Ah, ja, jetzt gerade, oder?
Genau, ist ein kleiner schwarzer Rahmen außenrum. Sieht ein bisschen skaliert aus.
Ach so, ja,
Automatisch, da können wir nichts machen.
das ist, glaube ich, einfach so.
Nur freundliche Hinweise zwischen
Ja,
Technikern.
ja, klar. Nee, Max, super, danke. Wir nehmen das nicht krumm, aber ich glaube, das können wir jetzt nicht mehr ändern. Wir müssen jetzt die Nerven behalten.
Okay, super. Dann könnt ihr diesen Raum eigentlich stumm schalten. Genau, ich lasse ja euch da die Macht, ne? Hatten wir so abgesprochen.
Genau, der bleibt die ganze Zeit hier von euch aus ungemutet, oder?
Wir bleiben von uns aus aktiv, damit das der Herr Franz nicht selber machen muss.
Perfekt, super. Ja.
Viel Erfolg!
Perfekt.
Aber das heißt, wenn der die ganze Zeit auf, er ist raus, aber ich kann trotzdem mit dir sprechen. Okay. Also Leute, dann sehe ich dich, um mir das Ding zu bringen für Frank 7. Also, ja, habe ich per E-Mail bekommen von Matthias. Danke.
Wie lautet deine erste Frage an Dr. Frank?
Martin, are you still there? Martin, bist du da?
Great.
Because we cannot unmute Roche.
So they must do it themselves first.
John,
Yeah.
you see what I mean? Because we only can ask them to unmute them.
They are unmuted currently.
They're currently?
Unmuted, not muted.
So they can talk right now.
It's according to what I'm seeing now. Like there's no. You can see it on yours too, right? Yeah. As far as we know, they're unmuted. She's not using YouTube.
Martin? Martin? They can talk right now. Martin?
Everything we're doing now is also on the YouTube recording.
So it's already streaming there?
We're not broadcasting, but the YouTube is picking it up. Doesn't matter because they'll cut it later.
Okay. Martin, are you there? Martin? 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 Martin, falls du mich hören solltest. Can we turn the YouTube sound off? The YouTube sound, can we turn it off? Okay. It's probably.
Should I mute? Which one should I mute? Nothing to do with her. It's already, everything we're doing now is live. We're not broadcasting on Zoom, but everything she set up is going. Tell us.
But so we were listening to the YouTube and we could hear it.
Yes, we should be muting our microphones.
Yeah, then we should.
Should I mute? Yeah. Which one should I mute? Nothing to do with her. It's already, everything we're doing now is live. We're not broadcasting on Zoom, but everything set up is on. We should be muting our microphones. Yeah, we should. And we.
Yes, it was my way.
Du sagst mir denn.
And my tired eyes lit wide, going down memory lane, showing up and dancing, jobbing, doing the swing. As I start to reminisce, my feet they start to twitch, and I go. My feet they start to twitch, and I go.
Ding. Hast du schon weggestellt? War eben aus dem Team. Nee, das war. Weißt du? Ja, nee, da war eben was. War eine Vatermutter, aber jetzt ist vor 3 Stunden habe ich schon was weggeräumt. Vielleicht. Ja, nee, da war
Every day, true play away. I can't get it off my mind. Think about the
mileage by the pound. Baby, never act wild. Very low key on the profile. Catching feelings is a no. Let me tell you how the story goes. Curves, a word, is a verb. Love it, eat curves, so free what you heard. Love it with the fatness. You don't even know what the hat is. You got to pay to pay. Just show the pain, pain to look away. I like the way you work it. Trump tight all day, every day. Blown my mind, maybe in time, babe, I can get you in my ride.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Expo from Startup Creasphere of Batch 4. We're really excited to welcome you for our virtual Expo this time, and thank you all for joining our event today. Before we start, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Friederike Rohr. I'm the director of the healthcare program and head of the Munich office here in Munich, and I will be the moderator of today's event, and I will guide you through the entire event. So this is part of our Summer Summit, and today with this Expo we kick off our Summer Summit and the first day. As you know, we have 3 verticals here in Munich, and tomorrow we have the Expos of InsurTech and Retail, and we are more than happy to invite you for that part as well. Thank you all for joining today. Before we start, we would like to guide you through our housekeeping rules. I'm sure since you all dialed into Zoom and we're all familiar with Zoom already, you're more than familiar with the rules, but just to refresh our minds. We have active and passive participants. And for the active participants, we would like to ask you to please be on time for your dedicated time slot. So please mute yourself and turn off your camera when you're not speaking, and to unmute yourself and to turn your camera on when you're speaking. Please also be so kind that before you share your screen for your slides, if you have slides, to quickly show your video and say a few sentences about yourself. For all the other participants, also thank you for joining, and we would also like to encourage you to make this as interactive as possible. The chat box is your friend and not a distraction, and we would like to ask you to ask all kinds of technical questions through the Zoom chat function on the right. We do want you also to engage in our Q&A for the startup questions, as well for the part of the executive questions, and to please vote with the poll function with the best virtual pitch award, which I will go to right now. So we have a couple of highlights in today's Expo, and since we cannot be here together in person, we have come up with a couple of things. First thing is we have an event app. So please take out your smartphone and scan the QR code of the app and download the app to join the app and our event. You will have an overview of all attendees from this event, which gives you a great way to alternatively network together. You can ask all questions through the Slido in the app function to ask questions to the startups. Generally, you can also see all the agenda points of this event and of the event tomorrow. In case you do not want to download the app, you can still engage and be interactive with this event and ask your questions through slide.do and put in the code hashtag SCB4 to be able to ask questions to the startups. Another highlight we have is Remo, our networking tool, which we will all be jumping to right after this event. Unfortunately, we cannot join together for some drinks in our big event space here in the office, and therefore we would like to make this as vivid as possible and meet in the Remo networking tool, which is a virtual way to network together. We will share more information at the end of this event, and please, we will also put the link in the chat function for you to join us there. All the startups will be participating at Remo, and you can join their tables in Remo, as you can see here on the screen, and you can network and talk to each other there as well. Another highlight we have, and we are very thankful for this, if you have been to our Expo from batch 3, we had Olivia Hartl-Spiegelbauer from Roche there, who is an artist as well as the group leader DSP development, and who was sketching on a scribble board, as you can see here in our batch 3 Expo Live. Today, thank you very much, Olivia, you will also be joining us and scribble this event digitally. So during our break, Olivia will show how far she has come during the event to scribble on her iPad. And we're more than happy to share the result at the end as well. So thank you very much for helping out and for making this an interactive event. A great announcement for today. As you know, we have 6 partners on the platform here in Munich at Startup Creasphere. I'm happy to announce that we have a new member to the Startup Creasphere family and platform here. I'd like to announce our new partnership with Microsoft starting as of today. We're very excited to have you on board and hopefully meeting you in person soon as well. Microsoft will be joining us and helping us also to have a new insight within also the technological field and support our startups from that angle as well. So welcome on board and thank you for joining the Startup Creasphere platform and helping us with our mission to transform healthcare together. So now, briefly talking about the agenda, I'm starting with the opening remarks, followed by opening remarks from Dr. Christoph Franz, Chairman of the Board of Roche, followed by the introduction from Dr. Jochen Holebaus from Roche, followed by the Roche startup pitches, including a video from the pilot owners and the startups where they have both shown what they have done during the current batch, which we are finalizing today and celebrating today with this event. Afterwards, we have a new feature which is called Ask the Executive with Dr. Frank Sieben, who will also be answering questions that you can fill in through slide.do, and I will be moderating this part of the event. Then we have a small break where we will show our Expo Batch 3 video, as well as the status of the scribbleboard from Olivia, followed by the introduction from Sanofi, the Sanofi pitches with the pilot owners and the startups, including also one startup from our Singapore program joining us today, especially for you at this late time of the day, followed by an introduction of our partner Lonza, a keynote from our new partner Microsoft, and some closing remarks, and then we hope to see you all virtually at our networking mixer at Remo. But before we start with all of this, for everyone who's new to our concept and what we do at Plug and Play, I'd like to give you a brief overview of who we are and what we do. So we at Plug and Play are an innovation platform with the most active VC that we are globally. Originally, we have started to rent out office space, as you could have seen, as you saw in the slide before, where one of our first tenants and first touch points with the startups was Google until they became too big and they actually had to move out. Our headquarters in Silicon Valley, and we have started as a VC. We're currently the most active VC in early stage investment. Last year, we have made over 300 investments alone. And on top of our VC activities, we're also hosting innovation platforms and accelerator programs across the globe and all kind of industries you can think of. So we are clustered in so-called verticals. And within these verticals, we look for the right startups for our business units, partners' needs, to help them to support their internal innovation strategy and to look for new solutions that foster and help their businesses. Here in Munich, we have 3 verticals present: insurance, retail, and health. These are all the locations we have across the globe. As you can see, we are present in nearly all continents and are a very international company, but we also believe that innovation has to happen in the regions as well. So we bring in business units from across the globe and help them with their innovation activities in their locations. Here in Munich, we have now 7 partners, including Roche Diagnostics, Sanofi Consumer Healthcare, Lonza, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Microsoft, University Clinic Schleswig-Holstein, and Sana Clinics. And together, we have the mission to transform healthcare together. But now talking about this batch, so what have we done until today, from March till now, in this virtual format due to the current circumstances? We had 7 startups in the program with 7 pilot projects. We have still hosted over 10 events virtually with over 20 mentors that were matchmaking with our startups to support them also on top of their pilot projects. We've made over 20 introductions in 3 deep dive weeks with 6 partners, and we have startups that are very international. So again, thank you for dialing in from so many different countries and time zones. We have 5 countries present with these 7 startups. So thank you all for participating, and congratulations to joining us for batch 4 and for finalizing this big program with us together with the big Expo today. But now the question is, how did we come down to these 7 startups? It's actually a very long process by our ventures team and the dedicated business units from our corporate partners, where our corporate partners share their business units' needs with us, and we go and find the right startups for their needs. In an iterative process of 4 months, our ventures team, together with the core teams from our partners, look for the right startups that fit exactly their needs. And afterwards, in this process, after the introduction to the business units choose the exact right startup for their needs to invite to the startup program with a kickoff event. And then we have this result with these 7 startups and 7 business units and 7 projects. So these 7 startups are chosen, and it's all about the startups today. So congratulations again for being chosen, and thank you for joining us and for again sharing today what you have done in the batch and what you're doing in your business. So now we're starting with the first aspect of today. I'd like to start with Roche, and we're more than happy to welcome Dr. Christoph Franz, Chairman of the Board of Roche, with us for the opening remarks of today's event. So Dr. Christoph Franz, thank you very much for giving us the honor and for joining us today, and welcome to our Expo, and stage is yours. Joining us and for again sharing today what you've done in the batch and what you're doing in your business. So now we're starting with the first aspect of today. I'd like to start with Roche, and we're more than happy to welcome
now it seems to work. So hello everybody. It's a big pleasure to be back here again at batch number 4 of Startup Creasphere. We are still super excited about this collaboration with Plug and Play and the opportunity to get to know so many young entrepreneurs with great ideas. And that is extremely close to our hearts at Roche, because our company is depending in our future on our ability to innovate. And this means, first of all, you run big research and development departments, and you run also development departments developing IT and digital things. But all this is probably not enough to be successful in the future. The future depends on the fact to partner with all these 99% of the greatest ideas which are generated outside our company. So for us, getting in touch with people who have these great ideas is not only something which is nice, but it is something which is absolutely essential in our business to be on the forefront of innovation and thus create a sustainable and a successful future for a company like Roche, which is committed to improving health of all people around the world. What we are great in is obviously science. That's something where we have been successful for many decades. Now there is an additional challenge because we learn that it's not only developing highly sophisticated tests like our famous COVID tests, which we have created in a few weeks' time only to contribute to manage this pandemic, but it's also in pharmaceuticals where we more and more have the need to create insight using digital tools. And this is something where the whole company has to not only learn, but also shift our attitude, creating what is a kind of startup spirit, working in an agile way. This is something which is not normal for big companies like ours, but it is something what we, in many cases, can learn from small startups. And that's the reason why it is so important for us to expose not only ourselves with great ideas from outside, but expose ourselves also with entrepreneurs who have a different mindset, who have this agile way of creating pilots and prototypes. And this is exactly where we can learn a lot. At the same time, we have to learn something else. We have to learn how to collaborate with these startups. And that is something what provides us startup Creasphere, because we are able for some of our people in the digital world to interact with digital startups, and thus giving us an idea how to organize ourselves and what attitude it needs inside a company like Roche. And at the same time, it is also changing a mindset from not invented here to steal with pride. So basically bringing great ideas into the company. And that's what I enjoy personally. And to underline it, I'm happy as the chairman of such a big company to be here every time I can, because I feel this is the future for the company. Thanks a lot and good luck now for the pitches.
Thank you very much, Mr. Franz, for your kind words and for these encouraging, energetic words. Thank you very much. And now, Dr. Jochen Hohlebaus, I'd like to hand over the word to you. You were also the initiator from the Roche side for Startup Creasphere, and you're also introducing the startup pitches for Roche today. So Jochen, stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I want to first thank Christoph Franz for his contribution and that he's here today as the chairman of Roche. It's a great honor, and that actually he came back the second time is even a bigger honor because it shows it's of real value for him, and he sees the benefit, as he has just expressed, in for us working with digital companies, learning from digital companies, looking what ideas they have and how they can help Roche in the future. He also mentioned the open innovation aspects that we have very big as a big topic within Startup Creasphere. And we are also on that end very happy that Startup Creasphere is growing, the ecosystem is getting bigger. You also mentioned, Friederike, that we will have Microsoft now as a new partner, so we are also very happy on that end. And beyond that, we also going more global, right? So Munich is still our center of Startup Creasphere. We have been engaging before already quite significantly on the APEC side, and we are also very happy that our colleagues from Diagnostic Information Solutions and Molecular Solutions are now an active partner in the Silicon Valley Plug-and-Play Health Accelerator and have been embarking with their first startups there. in Singapore, we actually also will kick off batch 0, so a first local batch with a few startups that will be focusing on more commercial topics, topics which are specific for the APAC region, which obviously is also becoming more and more important. It's a very different culture in many aspects, so it's also very important for us as a global company that we engage with the local ecosystems and we see what is happening there on the ground. So yeah, we are very happy with that. This batch obviously was a bit specific. It was a purely virtual batch. We have never seen any of the startups in person, but it worked tremendously well. We are super happy. We also heard, of course, which is even more important, that actually our pilot owners, but also the startups are very happy about the results and what has happened. And I also want to particularly thank here Plug and Play for doing a tremendously good job in organizing these virtual sessions, which actually are more difficult to organize. Everything has to fit 100%. The technology has to fit to make it really successful. And that has been working really, really well. That said, we are obviously looking forward to hopefully have in the next kickoff in October, at least a partly on-site batch, if possible, or kickoff. We will see how that goes, how the situation develops. But yeah, now today, I'm looking really forward to see the batch, the pitches of the 5 startups that we had in our batch. And yeah, wish you all an insightful next couple of hours. Thank you very much. Have a good time.
Thank you very much, Jochen, for your kind words. And thank you very much. Last time we were in this room together for the kickoff. Now I hopefully to see you soon again. And now I'd like to hand over the word to my colleague Fabian from the venture side, who will be guiding you through the startup pitches and moderate the Q&A. And please be so kind as to be as interactive and engaging as possible with your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Friederike. Hello to everyone also from my side. To quickly introduce myself, my name is Fabian. I'm working on the venture side for the Startup Creasphere program. I'm working closely together with our champions, but also with the pilot teams of our partners to guide the process prior to the program to select the right startup according to their business needs. So for the upcoming pitches we will see on the Roche part, we have 5 companies based out of 3 continents. We have something in the cardiovascular space, but also in the big data, going all the way to the knowledge-based space. But first of all, I'd like to, well, guide you through the housekeeping quickly again. For the next slide, as Friederike already mentioned, we're going to use Slido for our Q&A session. Slido is also embedded in our Plug and Play events app. So you can scan either a QR code to directly go to those to the application through your phone, or in case you're at your computer, you can also type in slide.do and the code is #SCB4. From a general structure side for the pitches, we will see a short introduction video from the pilot owner or the pilot team and also the startups, talking quickly about their experience and about their collaboration. Then we will see a 5 minutes pitch by the startup, which is directly followed then by a 2 minutes Q&A session. For the startups, quick reminder, please introduce yourself prior to the pitch and then start sharing your screen. So that being said, I'd like to kick it off with Echo AI. Fun fact about Echo AI, the founder, James, actually already founded several other companies and decided never to found again. But then, as it happens, he decided one day to found Echo AI, and that's where we stand now. So enjoy the pitch.
Echo AI uses machine learning to automate the fight against heart disease. We've developed a fully automated AI platform for the analysis of echocardiograms, which are a doctor's tool of choice to visualize the heart.
We already spotted Echo AI due to their exceptional combination of deep knowledge and expertise on one side, as well as commercial excellence on the other side. In this project, partners are spread between Singapore, Netherlands, UK and Switzerland, and the virtual setup was anyhow the most efficient way to proceed with this collaboration. So we defined the clear objectives, timelines, we did a very detailed project planning and set up proactively the calls where we will discuss all questions and align on the next steps.
Good evening, everyone from Singapore. My name is James Hare. I'm CEO of Echo AI, and I will now share screen. So Echo AI is automating the fight against cardiovascular disease with machine learning. This is a huge fight. Unfortunately, the reality is that 1 in 3 of us on this call today will die of cardiovascular disease. It's the world's #1 killer. And not too long ago, unfortunately, I thought I was going to be the unlucky one. This is a ECG. As you see, it says abnormal at the top. And I received it while, frankly, living the good life. My last company had gone IPO. I'd retired. I was kite surfing around the world. And I just, by chance, happened to get this, which got me very worried. And the first thing you need to do if you're worried about your heart is visualize it. And the doctor's tool of choice to visualize the heart is echo, or ultrasound of the heart. Now, despite being married to a cardiologist, it still took me a month to get my heart visualized. And then I ended up getting 2 different readings from 2 different doctors. Fortunately, the reading that said I'm okay was the right one, but it introduced me to this world of echocardiography. Even though it's the safest, most common imaging tool, it's still slow. It takes a half an hour to image the heart, and then another half an hour to do all of the manual annotations you need to do the measurements. It's error prone, as I saw in my own case. There's huge variability amongst readings, and it's relatively expensive. So the reality is, despite being retired, I started thinking, oh my gosh, there's a way to improve this process, and I could no longer sleep. And since I like to say it's the dumbest thing in the world to be retired and not be able to sleep, Echo AI was born. We built a software solution that basically takes this 30-minute process of 250 clicks and 21% variability and turn it into something that's 2 clicks, 2 minutes, 1 click, and 0 variability. Here's a very short demo of the software. You can see our tool is basically a search engine because all of the work, all the hard effort happens behind the scenes. For doctors, they simply look for their patient, they click, and they go to a report. The report is already annotated. The main findings are there. You can very quickly see the shape of the heart, the main conclusions that we found. You can hover over all of the measurements that we've done, so there's no need to do anything. Hover over them. We do 2D videos and Doppler modalities as well. At any time, you can click and see how these measurements compare to the reference guidelines. And if you have any doubts, you can click through to the measurement page, scroll through all of the images, pick different measurements because we do orders of magnitude more measurements than can be done by hand, edit anything that you want, and it's all done automatically. So we built this software on top of a federated learning platform. Basically, we connected data across sites in multiple countries, and this allowed us to do rapid training and validation across multiple cohorts. Our software comes in 2 flavors. One is a diagnostics tool for the diagnostics market. But the other, we realized that we could turn these tools into new opportunities and address new, even larger markets in the research and predictive analytics market. All of this was sort of built upon a wonderful collaboration that we had here in Singapore with Singaporean research institutes. And it was built upon a research platform that one of our co-founders built across 11 countries. And we've had fantastic financial support. Our latest round was done with Sequoia and EDBI, which has been a wonderful help and spurred our growth. This is the team that we were able to put together. We've frankly, had the good luck to get a who's who of the top imaging core lab leaders from around the world, and that has greatly accelerated our development. And of course, this is the glory slide. We've had a good run, being able to win a bunch of prizes, as well as being rated amongst the top 10% of global startups in our category. So that's a very brief introduction to Echo AI. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present it to you today.
Thank you very much, James, for all those insights and the good presentation. So we already have the first question incoming. Are you planning to go abroad, and where?
So the funny thing is that we are based in Singapore, and we love being here. It's a fantastic place for growing companies quickly, and there's fantastic government support. But the reality is that all of our markets, our core markets, are elsewhere. So we're already selling our commercial tools to both academic research hospitals and pharmaceutical partners in Europe and the US. All of the commercial deals that we've closed so far are in those two regions. Our regulatory approval strategy for the clinical product will be to start with the US. We're in the process of doing our FDA validation with the Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. So we're using Singapore as our launchpad, but frankly, our markets are global.
Thank you. Then the next one would be, how long will it take you to get on the market as a medical device?
So we're like I said, we're in the process now of the regulatory approval process now for the FDA. We're hoping, we'll see how that goes, but we're hoping by Q1 of next year, we will have that approval. Once we have that, our strategy is to immediately pivot to the CE mark in Europe, and then of course the HSA mark here in Singapore.
Fantastic, good luck with that. One more, I think we have time for one more question. Does Echo AI acquire the Echo data or analyze data that has been captured already?
Our process is to analyze data that's captured already for research stuff, but we put our tools into the hands of others. The idea is our model is a SaaS-based model where you use our tools in subscription, so you can use our software with all of your already stored images, or acquiring new ones. We're working really closely now with using handheld devices, so you can plug there's a new generation of handheld devices that plug into iPhones or Samsung tablets. Our software works with these. You can acquire your images that way, and then process them, do all of the analysis with our software.
Okay, fantastic. Sounds really good. So thank you so much, James, for your time. We will have networking later today. So in case any one of you wants to approach James and learn more about Echo AI, please go to the Remo ecosystem and application and directly talk to him. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
So maybe as a quick reminder, we have 5 minutes per slot. In case someone goes over time, I will just quickly gong from our side and then wrap it up quickly. But for that being said, the next startup is JanaCare. JanaCare is actually already spread between Barcelona and Washington, and therefore they are quite convenient with the current situation and can easily adapt. So Javier, please kick it off with the video and afterwards with your presentation.
What makes your solution so special? The JanaCare solution for NT-proBNP testing removes any need for a professional to be involved in NT-proBNP testing. This means that the testing can occur in the patient's home.
I think this was already relevant for the heart failure strategy team within Roche, that something needs to improve at the outpatient level, and I think this will even get more predominant now with the COVID-19 outbreak, where most of the countries realize that outpatient care and even home care is really the future and can benefit to a lot of patients.
JanaCare joined Creasphere because it's a great opportunity to be involved with similar companies like our own and to see if there's a potential for collaboration with Roche.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Javier Chenique. I'm the Director of Product at JanaCare, and I'm happy to present to you this afternoon. Let me share my screen now. All right, everyone, and what I'd like to talk about today is our fingerstick NT-proBNP test. A little background on heart failure. It's a chronic and progressive disease, and it's caused by the heart's inability to pump enough blood to meet the needs of the body. And it's, as you can see on the chart on the right, when you look at the red line, it's punctuated by acute decompensation events where the patient gets significantly worse, has to go to the hospital, and they only trend downward from then on. So this disease affects 26 million people around the world, and very importantly, 30% of all hospital readmissions around the world are due to heart failure. The good thing is that appropriate care and monitoring can help avoid these decompensation episodes and improve the patient outcomes. So unfortunately, the current monitoring options don't satisfy the customer's need. Right now, the most common monitoring option is weight monitoring by patients taking their weight every day and journaling this. Unfortunately, the predictive power of weight monitoring is very, very poor. On the very other side are implanted devices such as the CardioMEMS device, which is a pulmonary artery pressure monitoring device. This offers incredible information that is very predictive about pressures inside the heart. Unfortunately, this is an implantable device, so there's a risk to implant. Plus, it's a very expensive device, and around the world, the reimbursement is not very good. So unfortunately, this has hindered the adoption of this device in a more broad way around the world. So the last option is NT-proBNP monitoring. NT-proBNP is a heart failure biomarker that's very powerful and has a very predictive, it's very predictive as has been established by clinical trials over the last 20 years. The downside to NT-proBNP up to today is that it can only be performed in a professional setting. So a professional has to take the blood sample and a professional would have to do the blood testing. JonaCare aims to improve the situation by enabling NT-proBNP assisted heart failure management through the world's first fingerstick compatible NT-proBNP test. So this is done with two pieces of technology. First, INA is our smartphone-based lateral flow diagnostics platform. And then Habits is our digital coaching platform. It's software that runs on the smartphone that both runs the INA analyzer and it also coaches the patient on heart failure on a daily basis. Notable firsts for this product include the system is designed purely for heart failure prognosis. It's to monitor heart failure patients. The system, like a glucose test, is fingerstick compatible. It uses a very small amount of blood compared to current NT-proBNP tests that allow a patient to take their own blood sample at home and perform the test. No professionals need to be involved in here. Also, there's no sample preparation. The patient would literally put the blood sample onto our cartridge and run the test. All this information is sent up to the cloud via our app, where physicians can interact with the data on a remote dashboard. Plus, this information can be auto-synced to electronic health records that the hospital has. Finally, the system is very easy for patients to live with. It's self-calibrating and it's room temperature stable. So to give an example of how a patient and a physician might work with the system, so the patient may interact on a regular basis with the checklist on our app, and the checklist periodically reminds the patient to test their NT-proBNP. When the patient tests their NT-proBNP, the result is sent up to the cloud, and if the result is significant, both the doctor and the patient may be notified to take action. At that point, it's up to the doctor and the patient what to do, but for example, they may ask the patient to visit the clinic or to adjust the therapies, or the patient may receive additional education to help them in their situation. So as part of the Creasphere program, we actually validated that there was a huge unmet need for heart failure monitoring via NT-proBNP. We did a survey of 154 cardiologists and general practitioners in Europe to understand their use practices, and we uncovered important information. First, we understood that on average, heart failure patients are tested for their NT-proBNP only twice a year. But when we asked these respondents, how often would you want to test NT-proBNP if you were unrestricted? The answer was much higher. If a patient was recently discharged, they would want to test more on a weekly basis. And if the patient is more stable and has spent some time out of the hospital, the testing would move to more a monthly or quarterly basis. But this is significantly more than what their current testing regimen is. The respondents also responded that the vast majority of them would test recently discharged patients, but up to 1/3 of the respondents said they would just test they would continue monitoring all their heart failure patients. And of the 154 respondents, 85% of them said that they would be willing to adopt the JonaCare NT-proBNP monitoring solution. So what's left for us to do with Roche and JonaCare? We have a great opportunity to improve the life of heart failure patients. We've validated our product market fit. We understand the market access and regulatory implications. So the next things to work on with Roche are to explore a strategic fit with them, to understand how we fit in Roche's portfolio. Next, John Akira will give Roche a hands-on experience with the product itself. And finally, John Akira will work with Roche to formulate ideas of how to structure an ongoing collaboration. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Javier. So we've already had the first questions. One of them is for the results you're testing. In which EHR platforms can you already implement those data and transfer it to?
So you'd have to work with my IT team. I don't know the specifics of this. Our home base is in Boston, but also in Bangalore in India. We've integrated into hospitals in Bangalore and Singapore. I don't know the specifics about what those EHRs are called.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Where AINA systems can be used, so can you use them at home, or do you need to go to a specific location?
Yeah, so the test system we're in the middle of developing right now would be for use in both point of care situations, for example, in a doctor's office, in a pharmacy, in one of those settings where like maybe a nurse can run it. But additionally, importantly, it's being made for home usage where a patient can test themselves like a glucose test.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. And then for the patients that test using your device, what's the initial feedback? How do they accept it? Do they like it? Would they prefer to go to a doctor?
So the system is not yet out in the market for testing. So John Akira is already commercial with diabetes tests, and we have experience with patients testing themselves at home. And as long as the testing burden isn't overwhelming, not too much testing, the patients are fine with this. And especially now when patients don't really want to go to the hospitals for fear of COVID, there's a very big openness to doing these things from home as much as possible.
Okay, I assume so. Thank you very much, Javier, for answering all the questions. And again, here also you can meet him later in our networking tool and ask any questions that might be open. Then, thank you, Javier.
Thank you.
So up next, I'm really happy to introduce our portfolio company, Sorcero. We had incredible experiences with them. They've already been part of multiple batches across multiple locations. So kicking it off and handing it over to Richard, and first of all, the video.
Sorcero's natural language processing suite is helping us to automate the maintenance of medical guidelines. With Sorcero's technology, we can rapidly identify changes in the versions of medical guidelines, and we can adapt smart testing algorithms accordingly.
Sorcero applied its language intelligence platform to be able to apply layered understanding so that we could look at everything from oncology to neuropsychiatry, to apply that to those medical guidelines and be able to go into those medical decision trees and say things that were added and reduced, symptoms, treatments, and diagnostics, and match that together.
I believe that working with young and innovative digital technical companies is key for the success of Roche in the future.
So please, Richard, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Fabian, for that lovely introduction. My name is Richard Graves. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer and co-founder at Sorcero. I previously have had a career in launching and scaling companies in fintech and renewable energy with data science and big data enabled companies. So it's a real pleasure to be able to work with the team here. So I wanted to introduce, for all the folks who haven't worked with Sorcero before, our platform and technology. It was a lovely introduction. And what we're doing here at Sorcero is delivering scientific and medical language intelligence, helping power millions of critical decisions. What we've built is a platform that can enable life sciences companies to understand, access, and leverage medical and scientific expertise at scale. One of the biggest challenges with actually applying the technology that we work in, artificial intelligence, to the very complex, highly technical workflows that life sciences companies are dependent on, is that general domain AI may understand language, but it doesn't understand your work. It doesn't understand the medical domain. It doesn't understand the words, the concepts in the language that is actually required to understand the applications of diagnostics, treatments, and the work of clinicians. What we've built is a platform with 3 unique capabilities. One is we've built the first low-code platform for language intelligence, taking tools from both the natural language family of technologies and artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, et cetera, technologies, so that you can actually build intelligent applications with them in days, not months. We built a cognitive tower that can auto-assemble enterprise and domain-specific ontologies, things like oncology or understanding neuropsychiatry, to significantly boost the AI performance for the mission-critical workflows against those needs. So we really can provide deep, detailed understanding of the workflows that you are doing, the language that you depend on, and even the concepts that a doctor or a point of care provider may really need. Lastly, it's a turnkey platform. The data science teams that are building AI solutions within enterprise typically spend 80% of their time cleaning data and trying to harvest learnings and redeploy them against applications. And our platform as a service automatically does that, enabling them to focus on pushing innovation forward, while a production level platform can deliver applications to solve those problems with clear ROI models. Our platform, this is a little overview of it. This is a lot, but what it shows is we have the technology to take an ingestion of many of the most important sources and formats, apply that through a cognitive tower that can parse it and translate it into an AI native knowledge fabric that can then, we can apply our AI and language intelligence services to generate some tremendous capabilities and deploy it with the platform. Our cognitive tower actually has these 4 layers of understanding, which unlocks very specialized documents in ways people haven't seen before, taking from NLP, natural language processing, natural language understanding, domain understanding, and then enterprise understanding and enterprise expertise models themselves. Our leadership team that's built this, it's been a real pleasure to work with them. Dipanta Das, our founder and CEO, actually scaled public health technology platforms in 20 countries, worked with the Red Cross, Bloomberg, Gates Foundation, and others before the company. And Walter Bender, our CTO, co-founded and led the MIT Media Lab, one of the world's preeminent technology innovation centers in the world, developed the idea of personalized content, and now is working with us on personalized AI. And Amy Gallagher, who scaled Priceline through the RPO and has worked with public EHR and health solutions in the United States. So with our goal, with our pilot here with Roche, was actually to take medical intelligence and apply that to raw literature. So we could actually understand and transform real-time updates from scientific and medical literature, including guidelines, and turn it into a parsable, deployable, software-defined solution. So this shows just a little bit of how we actually transform these documents, which most systems can't really understand, and actually turn into fully parsed, understood systems that are deployable. And so we process and understand complex medical literature so that we can pull out medical tests from documents, symptoms, demographics, disease states, disease progressions, 10 times faster, more reliably, all in real time. And what that actually means is we can identify changes and differences, so that if a medical guideline, of which there are 11,000 sources that may filter into the diseases that people are tracking, you might need to know that in that 40-page new medical guideline in that peer-reviewed journal or from that association, these are the 3 sections that really impact someone who is prescribing a diagnostic, trying to divine the disease state or get those results. And we're able to show all that in real time, identifying changes, not just words, but actual tests that are added or subtracted, symptoms and more. And then augment medical delivery. So that's kind of what we did with our pilot, and we're really excited for the capabilities that we're providing the Roche team. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard, for that introduction. The first question has already came up, and it's around the batch programs. So how did your experience with the Startup Creasphere batch differentiate to the experiences with the other batches?
Absolutely. So one of the things I have to say is the Roche team and the startup Creasphere team was fantastic, but in a very particular way. I think people often think that innovation just requires creativity, but it actually requires discipline. It requires the ability to start right away, have clearly defined problems, have the data available, and the workflows to actually work through that. And both the Creasphere and the Roche team did a fantastic job with getting us what we needed, so we were able to start at day one. And frankly, the technology solution that we delivered, when we started that, they said it might take 3 to 5 years for this to get developed. Because it was so well structured and we were able to apply our technology, we were in, I think, 6 weeks, we had a first proof of concept that actually showed that we could do something that, that previously they didn't believe was technically possible.
That's fantastic. So we already had the next one. Medical guidelines are based on text. Do you think they can be algorithmically automated?
That's what we proved here, actually. So we are able to take in unstructured text and pull in the full meaning of what is added, subtracted, and changed from not just a text level, but a conceptual level. What exactly is a disease state and progression? What exactly is a test that's added or subtracted? And that's what we proved here. And we're really looking forward to scaling this with Roche.
Fantastic. And then also adding up to this, what are the next steps or the next month?
So the next steps is we're going to be working with Roche to actually scale this up, to actually look at 1,000 medical guidelines to the next year. We're also finding that this technology can really apply to regulatory compliance. It can apply to other needs. So IVDR needs, this can work fantastically to monitor the scientific and medical literature for those compliance and applications, as well as research competitors in the market, other applications, and find the literature real time that demonstrates that this diagnostic, this pharmaceutical treatment actually has evidence that can be used for payers and to healthcare providers.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Fabian.
Thank you very much, Richard. Here again, you can meet him later in the REMA application and talk to him directly if you want to get to know Sorcero better. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
So up next, we have our only German-based company. It's Status. They are all focusing on synthetic data, and how they do it, you will see up next.
At Status, we see ourselves as the safeguard of individuals' privacy and a technological enabler for our customers, which are companies, to unlock potential of sensitive or prior sensitive data. We do this by offering a data anonymization software that enables companies to easily use sensitive data. And this is done by the creation of so-called synthetic data.
I'm currently working with Status on a collaboration investigating the power of synthetic data. This area has been rapidly growing in recent years, and we're keen to see how we can utilize this power in a clinical data setting. We've identified a number of areas that we're interested in, including software testing, medical data insights, and data sharing. Working within startup is a very new experience for me, as all of my background is with Big Pharma. This is a very different way of working, and it's been a really exciting privilege to be involved.
Okay, Sebastian, over to you.
A kind intro, and I can only mirror what Alex said. It was a pleasure for us to be involved as well. So happy to share a little bit more about Status, as well as what we've been up to with Roche throughout this project. As mentioned, and as you saw, we are working on synthetic data for the purpose of data anonymization. Why we're doing this is because we believe the ability to use data is elementary for ongoing digitization efforts, but of course also the ability for companies such as Roche to collaborate on sensitive data or data that's priorly really not accessible. The way we do this and what exactly we're trying to solve is the ability for companies to work on something resembling real data, which we consider synthetic data. The idea here is that our software is able to create a copy of an original set of data, preserving none of the sensitive information, but still preserving the overall statistical and structural aspects of such data. And this allows us to believe in a future where data itself is absolutely transparent and open to be used,
without absolutely no privacy implications for companies, and of course, therefore also for customers and users. The software itself builds on something that's considered as the so-called privacy-preserving deep generative models. So in itself, the software uses machine learning models that learn and train on a given original source of data, understanding statistical information and relationships, and using this knowledge to, as mentioned before, generate a new set of data that, again, statistically, structurally mimics the original data as much as possible, but really does not allow for any link to the original data, and therefore for any re-identification of information that can be linked to a real person, and therefore making sure that data utility, but also data privacy, are very much preserved to a maximum extent. With Roche, we applied this technology and applied our software to understanding how clinical trial data can be potentially protected and secured, and still preserving the statistical relevance and accuracy, as Alex pointed out in the video, for subsequent analyses, software testing, and the ability to make data accessible across the Roche organization. And the way we did this is we started working with a publicly available data set stemming from the Harvard Dataverse, which provided a lot of different challenges because the data itself only provided insights on roughly 120 patients, which for whoever knows a little bit about data protection and anonymization, can't quite bring a few challenges when it comes to making sure data does not really provide insights or information back to individuals that can be found in such data. The challenge for us and the goal of this project was to generate data that, in terms of utility, mimics the insights, but still make sure that there's no information too close to the real data. And we're quite happy to see that the results of this joint project and as part of the Creasphere program actually proved that to work. Now, what looks quite complex is really just a snapshot of evaluations in the showcase that we were actually able, together with Roche, to create data strongly mimicking statistical trends and statistical information present in the real data into the synthetic data. And this is a quick snapshot of a few evaluations that we generated throughout this project, and serving the idea to gain an impression on how this new data looks like and how it also behaves very similarly. So what we did basically here is putting or visualizing the information and distributions of the original data in blue, and on the newly created synthetic data in orange, and mapping them over each other. We also showed, and again, this is just for visualization purposes, don't be scared off by the graph, but what we also can see here is that a lot of different information, such as correlations across both data sets, have been preserved very nicely, allowing for a lot of statistical tests to be run and performed on synthetic data where prior data is not available. And in the end, what we actually resolved in and realized that at the conclusion of the project is that it's very possible for us to generate statistically similar and privacy-preserving data stemming from these clinical trial data, and giving us a lot of interesting hope and, of course, also perspectives on the applicability of this synthetic data for Roche in the future. Which brings us to the question, what's next? And we're currently in talks with Roche to extend our engagement on, of course, internal sources of data at Roche, in making sure that we can also apply the technology and software on internal sources and really generate more additional value from sensitive insight or sensitive internal data in terms of opening data internally, and of course also the ability to share data for machine learning application development, prototypical purposes, or generating new insights with partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sebastian, for this great presentation. So now we have the first question. It's rather more on the general side. So you have been working, also with other institutions, with other industries. How did the big pharma collaboration or the work differentiate with regards to those other industries?
That's a great question. I think the big difference, or there's definitely a few points that might be a little different. I think the biggest difference stems with the challenges preserved in the data itself. If you look at other industries that we've been active in, which mostly concern the financial or insurance space, we tend to see masses of data that are all very much available within one big, big environment. And here we're really talking about small subsets of data that itself obviously preserve a quite big challenge, as mentioned before, when preserving statistical accuracy, but still protecting individuals when there might only be 100 or so people in the data itself. On the other side, the experience has been very fantastic in terms of collaboration. We had a very great exchange, got a lot of very insightful and collaborative feedback from the partners at Roche, which was very fantastic. So in that case, we can only, can only confirm that this was a great experience from our side too.
We're really happy to hear that. Maybe one more question also on the data, on the data perspective. What do you think is the advantage of synthetic data compared to anonymous data?
Well, I think what's important here is that we synthesize data for the purpose of anonymization. So the goal is to create something that's mimicking original data as close as possible, while being absolutely anonymous. So I wouldn't necessarily, split the concepts here, but really see synthesization of data as a way to anonymize data. There are more traditional approaches to anonymization of data, which, for example, concern the obfuscation or changing of certain information within original source of original data set, which unfortunately have a lot of drawbacks when it, for example, comes to security and preservation of privacy. There's a lot of research already available showing how certain methodologies might still result in the potential re-identification of people, so-called linkage attacks being performed. On the other side, some methodologies tend to generalize data quite extensively, and therefore resulting in a huge loss of granularity and information. Something, again, where we try to really bridge those two worlds to make sure data is preserved or data is available in a very granular way, but still privacy preserving and anonymous.
That's great. One last question. Is there a chance to lose data when you synthesize?
Well, the original data always remains where it is, and we never actually, the software never deletes or changes any of the original data. So the only thing we do is really generate a new set of data, which means that whatever we had available as a company originally still is there, and this remains untouched in any way. If the question aims at statistical loss in data, that can happen, but that's really a matter of what data is originally available. If we see sets of data such as what presented here, we had a minimal loss in a few areas. The more data that is available, which is also, of course, sometimes something more typical, then there's a very, very rare and small loss possible, but usually negligible.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for the clarification, Sebastian. Looking forward to chat to you later, and also for everyone else, Grima is the place to go.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, then up next, last but not least, is Graken. They developed something called Grackle, and what that is all about, you will see up next.
Great, good. Oh, oops. Graken is an open source knowledge-based software that enables developers to build technologies that solve some of the world's most complex problems out there. We've been working very diligently with the team at Roche to build a POC that shows how you can use Graken to find new drug targets. Now, I have to thank the team at Roche tremendously for their help throughout this process.
I feel this has really been a co-creation between two parties, and that none of us would have been able to achieve these goals without the other's expertise and input. Due to the nature of the project, which was all based on data and software, going virtual was not a big problem at all. In fact, the virtual format is the one that makes most sense for this type of project.
So great, good. Pleasure to share with you what we've been working on with Norman and David and the team at Roche. Also, a big thank you to Fabian and Christina and everyone at Plug and Play for making this happen. So I know I'm the last one, so I won't take too much of your time, but I am quite excited to share what we've been working on. So I'll first start with just a couple of high-level introduction of what Graken is, and then I'll quickly do a live demo as well to just bring what we've done to life as well. So what is Graken? Now, Graken, first and foremost, Graken is a database software. So we build software that developers use to build applications, typically the applications that work with very complex data. And to illustrate the problem when you're working with complex data, it's useful to look at logistical domain. So when we're modeling a logistical domain, we usually start with a product that needs to get to a destination. But as the real world is made up of, we have different constraints in doing that. We have to model the employees, their availabilities, the fact that they have to sleep, the fact that different delivery methods, and all sorts of different constraints and things that we want to model in our domain. And that needs to happen in the database usually. So when we do that and we want to use some sort of traditional methods, it's very often that the model becomes too complex. And we end up with SQL queries that can look like this, which is quite difficult which may take an engineer half a day to write, for example. Now, with Kraken, what we've built is effectively a knowledge representation system in a language, Kraken being the database and Grackle being the language, that allows users to effectively work with data work with complex data in a much easier way. And so to demonstrate the particular point, the query on the left, which is actually looking for drugs connected to diseases or specifically asthma, which is 150 lines of code, we can reduce to just four or five lines of code in our language. And the difference isn't necessarily about counting the lines of code, but it's quite a useful indicator, especially when I don't have much time to share the details on how the implementation works under the hood. Now, I also like to share kind of the main tenets of the language, because simplicity in the language is really important. So if anyone watching this is a developer, on the right, you see the language that defines your schema. And so we've spent our lives to making sure the language is as simple to use and as easy to onboard as possible. So these little keywords like sub and has, we've spent so much time to making them just 3 keywords, and if we can make them even smaller while making it still maintainable and readable, we would do that. Now, in the project that we've worked on with the team at Roche, we've looked at specifically at how can we find and identify new targets. So we first looked within the disease space of IBD, so inflammatory bowel disease. Now, these 3 targets, and this is a screenshot from Open Targets, identifies CIBB and IL-10 and JAK3 as some of the top targets that everyone knows of. So these are, again, this is a screenshot from the Open Targets platform. But what we wanted to find out is effectively, how can we actually find more targets? And this is a screenshot from our visualization tool, where we see that after we've put the data into Kraken, we can identify the different links between IBD and these commonly known targets. But what we wanted to find out, and this is, at this point, I'll share a different screen with you as well. We wanted to find what we call what Norman and David at Roche called latent indicators. So what are some not so easily identifiable targets? And these targets we called order 2 targets. So what you're looking at right now, and I hope you can see this. This is Workbase. This is our visualization tool that allows a developer or a bioinformatician to effectively navigate your knowledge graph as you build your application on top of Kraken. So we have a query here, and I've got Kraken running on my computer. And I already ran the query before I started to speak. What we see, and I've had to mask the actual names of the targets, by the way, because it is confidential. I've just called them gene C, gene B, and gene A. So we get this connection, and we query specifically for order 2 type of relations. But the interesting thing about this here is that we can actually get an explanation why. Why did Kraken create these relations? Because we have certain hypotheses that we put under the hood. So I can press explain here, and I get this explanation why Kraken created that relation. So we see that under the hood, gene A apparently is being encoded by this protein that has an interaction with this other protein, which is encoded by this other gene called JAK3, which has what we called a order 1 relation with IBD. And similarly, we have this gene B, which has a genetic location that is very near to this IL-10, and that distance we effectively model and allow us, and there's this order 1 relation between IBD and IL-10. And similarly, this gene C, we find that there's a gene family, so-called gene family, or a Hawk family, as the data was called, between CIBB and gene C. And then we know, and then because of they're familiar, we effectively can possibly find that other gene C to be also a target that we may be interested in. So that's a very kind of fast whirlwind of what the demo is, what we built in this particular pilot. But the key is about representing the knowledge that's in our minds so that we can effectively query over that. So to go back to the slides, now we can also, what we also did for the purposes of working with the data, and these are just the slides from what I just showed, is we can also output this, of course, in an Excel file. So those familiar with Excel, we can actually also find that here we see these are the A, B, and C, which are masked, which are of order 2 relation, which go via these potential targets. But the interesting thing is that for those targets that we identified, or they were known, and the pilot is not productizable yet, is that when you go back to open targets, you can actually see where they sit. And actually 2 of the targets that we found are actually very lowly ranked. I can't show the actual rank, but they're somewhere around rank 700 and rank 1000. And in fact, one of the genes is not even in the list. And so as a final point, we're extremely proud of our open source community, and I always want to say that because our core software is actually open source. And if you do want to learn about Kraken, head out there. Our team is there. I'm there. Send me a message. Download Kraken today if you want. Play around with. We've got also an open source biological knowledge graph called BioGraken. And I also like to share that we're very proud. We had our first conference in January, actually February, just before the lockdown happened. We had a couple of hundred people come from all over the world, attend our conference, all of our users, and we had a blast. It was just before lockdown happened. The timing couldn't have been better. And thank you. And please do follow us. Our GitHub link is there. And join us on Discord, and do follow us on Twitter or your favorite social media platform. So I hope I did well on time. Fabian, over to you.
Thank you very much, Thomas, for that great presentation and also the demo. Maybe adding up quickly onto your open source approach. How did the open source approach impact the collaboration with Roche?
Well, it just makes it so much easier because what we did with the pilot with Roche allowed us to leverage other open source ontologies that others have developed. And so we leveraged that to kickstart the project. And by that ontology, I mean, how do we represent different types of relations under the hood? What's the schema that we wanted to define? And most of that came from BioGraken, which is this open source biological knowledge graph that anyone can use. And in fact, a lot of pharmaceuticals are using that today to which they extend and they make it private, of course. And so the open source really allows the dissemination of knowledge to spread much faster, because a lot of these data sets are public. And so for a lot of the more private companies, the goal is to how do we integrate this with our own private data. Now, for the purpose of this demo, the great thing about being in the open source is that we didn't have to go through any legal wrangling, because we just stick to publicly available data.
Fantastic. Maybe also adding up to that, there's a twofold question. First of all, how do your knowledge graphs differentiate to companies such as Benevolent AI or Innoplexis? And then based upon that, can you also ingest unpublished research data?
So I want to be very clear to whoever asked that question and anyone else who may think that. So a company like Benevolent AI and a company like Innoplexis, those would be users of our technology. In fact, I can't say too much, but there are teams that are looking and are using our technology within those companies. So Kraken is a database software that is used to build other software. So companies like Benevolent AI exist and are running with Kraken. One I can mention, Ecogenomics, for example, they've got their entire platform running on Kraken. So they build their products on top of Kraken. So Kraken doesn't have to differentiate itself because it's a completely different thing. Kraken is a developer tool that developers use to build software, and so in that sense, it is quite low level. And I appreciate if perhaps many in this call aren't familiar with what that means, but I hope for those technically versed, I hope that makes sense. Yeah.
And then maybe the second part of the question was, can you ingest unpublished research data? So more on the privacy.
So So Graken, so we never publish any data as such, in the sense that we just build a product that other people use. So the question should be rather anyone out there. So anyone, all the 276 participants of this call can today go to Graken.ai, download Graken in the open source, put their data into Graken, and decide whether they want to publish that open source or not. That's up to whoever uses that. So it's not up to us. You use the technology as you wish to do, as you would with any other database software, whether it's PostgreSQL or MongoDB.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Tomasz. Graken has webinars on a regular basis, so you can just directly go to the website and subscribe to that if you want to learn more. Otherwise, there would also be our remote tool later, as mentioned.
We have one tomorrow evening as well. Tomorrow evening.
Fantastic. Then handing it over again to Friederike, who's now guide you through the executive portion.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the startups, and thank you for the Q&A part, Fabian. And now welcome Dr. Frank Sieben. Nice to meet you virtually. Frank, he leads the in vitro diagnostic business for centralized laboratories at Roche Diagnostics. Thank you very much for joining us and for accepting the agenda point to ask the executive. So if you would like to quickly introduce yourself, thank you for joining. I'm just waiting for the tool to get all the questions in. So everyone, please feel free to ask questions over Slido or our event app. And digital solutions are playing an important role more and more, also with more diagnostic information collected, like digital biomarkers, which is also very, very important for you, Frank. So if you would like to quickly give us an introduction of yourself, and thank you for joining us while the questions are coming in.
Yeah, thanks, Federica, for the nice words. Thanks also for all participants. Basically, it's really inspiring also from my end, from our end, to be part of that, and it's really great to see the passion and contribution. So thanks a lot. A few words on my side. I have the last years been working in the healthcare environment in pharma and diagnostics on the commercial side, so running commercial organizations, but also on the global side. And had also the opportunity to being exposed to different fields, more in the disease areas like cardiovascular oncology, but also on new digital fields, for instance, in new digital health solutions, which we are placing jointly as new commercial models to our customers.
Thank you very much, Frank, for the introduction. And now, as the first questions are coming in, and please also feel free to network at a later point. The first question would be, how did you like the startup pitches, and how are they actually relevant for what you do as the franchise lead at Roche Diagnostics?
Thanks, Frederica. I'm a little biased, I have to admit, because in our franchise, we are focusing on disease areas like, for instance, cardiovascular. And therefore, obviously, specifically the two ones, specifically, working on these fields of improving patient care on CHF and cardiovascular diseases. Obviously, it's very close to our business heart, but also to my heart, right?
Yes, that's true. Thank you. And another question that came up is, how is digitalization important for the lab, and how are you planning to digitize the core lab?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty pivotal question also from our end. I think we have seen, the presentations very much coming from a patient end, and I see we are seeing much more that also our traditional customers, the lab customers, actually are also being much more exposed to the questions on how is their market, how are their customers basically developing and changing. And therefore, I think it's of great importance that also we, as a traditional lab supplier, are basically, tapping into new fields, into new business models to help our customers, basically addressing their increasing demands of their customers, being at the hospitals, be it the patients, but be it also the physicians, actually.
Okay, thank you very much. So we do not have so much time left, unfortunately, for this part. One last question in regards to the digitalization of the lab. What fascinates you most when working with startups, and also in relation to the core lab of the future?
So I think I start with the later part. I think we are currently in an important time window of opportunity to really change the business dynamics. We see very changing market dynamics as recently in the COVID situation being accelerated. And I think it's a very interesting time to be in that field, being in that storm and sensing how our customer landscape is being changing. And I think it's of crucial importance to be very fast, to act fast, but to also understand, how do we can create new business models, ideally together with our customers. And here I see the crucial importance to work with startups, as we've seen today, basically to set up us for success in a joint collaboration with our customers for the future.
Thank you very much. We have a little bit less than a minute left. One question, you mentioned the speed and you have to be fast. One question on that one was, how fast can these digital solutions be implemented?
That's a tricky one. I think theoretically it could be very fast if you just sense about, applying an algorithm or, in software on a cloud-based solutions. However, we also need to acknowledge that, the world is not yet there in all cases. Specifically, the healthcare industry is sometimes a little bit lagging behind other industries. So I think there's also kind of an educational bit, right, to help basically our industry to accelerate and to adopt these kind of solutions much faster.
Thank you very much. This is a nice closing remark also for this. Thank you very much for answering the questions and for taking the time. And with this being said, we have a 10-minute break where we will show the video from our Batch 3 Expo, as well as the current status of the scribbleboard from Olivia. So we have a 10-minute break, and then we will continue with Sanofi, which we are really excited about as well. So thank you very much, and we hope that we get to see you in 10 minutes again. Thank you. Plug and Play helps corporates to stay successful and to grow. Only with the implementation of new technologies and services, companies can maintain and stay sustainable in a long-term perspective.
I think the most exciting thing about working with startups is the innovation that they bring from every different direction. Roche is absolutely committed to innovation. Today's event was very exciting and very inspiring. We met several startups with whom we've had already some weeks of collaboration, and you could see that the quality of the partnership that's been built over the last 12 weeks was very high. So working with Plug and Play is important for us since it works as a catalyst for innovative ideas in the healthcare space, and we need that space in the German healthcare industry.
It was a great opportunity for us to get a little bit grip of the atmosphere, working with smart startups and getting to know persons.
We've been fortunate to be voted audience choice at today's Creasphere Expo event. It gives us the energy that we need as a startup to keep on pushing forward.
Knowledge by the pound, baby never act wild, very low key on the profile, Catching feelings is a no. Let me tell you how the story goes. Curves, a word is a verb. Love it, eat curves, so free what you heard. Love it with the fatness. You don't even know what the hat is. You got to pay to pay. Just show the pain, pain to look your way. I like the way you work it. Trump tight all day, every day. I'm blowing my mind, maybe in time, babe, I can get you in my ride.
Everything stops, but that flame in my heart that keeps burning, yearning. Oh, there's a lull in my life. It's just a void, an empty space. When you are not in my embrace.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second half of the Expo of Batch 4. Now we continue with Sanofi. First of all, my warmest regards to all of our Sanofi colleagues and teams in Frankfurt, Paris, Singapore. We would love to host you soon here in person again and hope that we have a chance to see each other soon. Thank you very much for the collaboration. It has also been a great and successful batch with you and with the pilot owners and the startups from your side. And we are really excited that we have you as a global partner with us in so many different locations to jointly transform healthcare together globally and also within the country. With that being said, I would like to introduce you to Hajavadan GK, who's the global category head for pain care at Sanofi Consumer Healthcare. Hajavadan, welcome and nice to meet you virtually. Thank you for joining us today. It's an honor for us to have you here, and also it's an honor for us that you give the introduction and opening remarks for Sanofi.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who are on the other side of the world, good morning and good evening for the other side again. I'm really happy to be here today with the Sanofi team to close our fourth batch of challenges with Startup Creasphere. In this round, we have 3 challenges focused on headache, chronic pain, and stress. Our internal teams have already started working very hard over the last 4 months on their projects. I know that we will see some great pitches today. By partnering with Startup Creasphere and Plug and Play, Sanofi Consumer Healthcare is showing our commitment to working closely with startups to accelerate our digital offerings to our consumers. For those of you who don't know much about the Sanofi Consumer Healthcare business, we are part of Sanofi, a global healthcare company which is based out of France. And we are one of the top 3 consumer healthcare companies globally. We're committed to providing people all over the world with consumer-centric, innovative self-care solutions to manage their personal health. And we focus on healthcare in 4 categories: pain care, which I'm a part of, digestive health, nutritional health, and allergy, cough, and cold. And we know that if we want to win with our consumers, we need to deliver products and services that meet their needs, which means evolving our businesses towards incorporating digital solutions with our traditional over-the-counter products. As part of the global team and working closely with our local countries, my team and I interact on a regular basis with consumers, including now during this lockdown, where we meet consumers via Zoom. And increasingly, we are hearing more and more about how consumers want a seamless, simple, digitally enabled solution to improve their health. So while talking about this, I thought it's a good opportunity to walk you through a real example of how these consumer unmet needs have led us to a solution which we're recently learning. We learned from people who are suffering from irritable bowel syndrome, commonly known as IBS, that these sufferers have actually regular episodes of abdominal pain, sometimes coupled with diarrhea, sometimes with bloating, sometimes with constipation, or a mix of any of these. And the worst part is it's completely unpredictable, and that impacts the person's life in a significant way. Did you know that the first thing an IBS sufferer, when they try to go and meet someone or go to a new place, what's the first thing they look for? Our consumers told us that the first thing they look for is the nearest toilet. Such is the negative impact of IBS in their lives. And to top it all, 96% of IBS sufferers actually do not know that they struggle with IBS, and they live their everyday lives in frustration. Here is a huge unmet need where consumers are not able to solve it because they don't know what they struggle with, and they need a clear solution for them to improve the quality of their lives. And so we decided to provide an end-to-end solution to this particular consumer. So while we are good at strong OTC solutions, and we already have one for this in the form of a product called Buscomint, which is a peppermint oil-based product that works really well, we discovered that the product alone was not sufficient to manage IBS for our consumers. So our deep consumer deep dives actually showed that there were very strong connections between stress, food, medication, etc. on their IBS episodes. And the consumer needed more than just a product. So we tied up with an online solution, which is Karacare, which allows us to learn and enable the consumer to track their mood, food, poop, etc., and thereby enabling them to understand their IBS condition a little bit more deeply, and more importantly, offer them a very clear beyond the pill solution to manage their episodes in such a way that they have a better quality of life. And more importantly, this is a beyond the pill solution as well. So like this, most OTC healthcare has unmet consumer needs that cannot be solved by just a product. So we need to assemble a meaningful consumer journey and a consumer-centric ecosystem for healthcare. And in this case, Plug and Play is a great platform where we leverage to bring these beyond the pill parts and solutions together along with the product part. So my mission for digital health for Sanofi Pain Care is to provide, along with our teams, to consumers an end-to-end ecosystem to stay connected, to self-diagnose, measure, treat, anticipate, manage, share, and buy, all while navigating through a simple and an effective journey, thereby leading towards an accessible self-care in their hands. I'm really impressed by this innovative and agile mindset behaviors which our teams are bringing in back into the Sanofi by the sheer interactions which they're having with startups like you. And we really value this partnership that we've started with Plug and Play. Our teams are really looking forward to today's pitches and taking the time over the coming days to learn more and more from each of this batch of startups. So thank you very much for the opportunity to engage and interact. And more importantly, I wish all the pitching teams the very best in learning and growing together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Harsh, for the kind words and for sharing also the real example of IBS, as well as sharing the mission that Sanofi Consumer Healthcare has beyond the pill. And it's great for us as Plug and Play to see, and also on how you work with the startups globally, with the teams in different countries. And we're extremely proud to have you as our partner on our platform globally. Thank you very much, Harsh. So with that being said, my warmest regards to the team at Sanofi and good luck for the pitches. I'm handing over the word to my colleague Fabian for the Q&A for the startups. And also please bear in mind, and thank you again, the startups are dialing in globally from very different time zones. So thank you for spending this time with us, no matter what time of the day. We highly appreciate it. We have over 320 participants currently. So thank you all for the different teams, especially now in the Asian area where it's already late at night. So thank you very much. Warmest regards, and handing over to Fabian.
Thank you very much, Friederike. We are at Plug and Play are extremely excited to have Sanofi as a global partner and to also work with them together in multiple locations. For the Sanofi portion, we will see 3 startups today, based out of 2 continents. And then I would say let's directly jump into the first startup pitch. They've actually been part of our startup Creasphere program in Singapore, so soon to be startup Creasphere program in Singapore, our Singapore portion. So Welltech, and then Scott, please feel free. We will see the video and then directly jump into your pitch. Looking forward to that.
What's special about us? It works. We achieve behaviour change for health improvement, and that's demonstrable through some quantitative outcomes.
When I first saw Welltech pitch during the demo day in Singapore last year, I was really excited to see that the solution fits to the challenge that Sanofi is proposing like a glove. Well, we are working with Welltech to build a personalized app to manage stress through improving overall health and wellness. That you need to be very certain about the challenge. We created the challenge based on an idea that came out from an innovation workshop for the international region, Gain Support. It's really important to validate your idea and also gain support internally from your key stakeholders.
Thank you, Fabian. And good morning, good evening, everybody. My name is Scott Montgomery. I'm the founding CEO of WellTech, based here in Singapore on a nice balmy evening, as they are. I'm going to talk to you today about the project that we are tackling head on. And to do that, I've got a very brief visual here for you to take you through. So the mantra for WellTech, and this is where we connected very, very deeply with Sanofi almost immediately, was we're to empower healthier, happier people. And when Sanofi mentioned that one of their core objectives is to go beyond the pill, that resonated deeply with us. So we are a personalized digital health solution. Now, in this point in time at the moment where COVID has strangled the planet, what's been really interesting is the effect that it has on every single person. And those symptoms are almost a lot of the time the solution. And just a couple of points here that as we go into social distancing and isolation and lockdown, we are less active. Our nutrition choices are poorer. We're more likely for situational snacking. Fatigue through Netflix binges or house partying late at night starts to lead into a less resilient mind. And then you're adding more stress into it with often employment uncertainty, potential financial certainty, and that can manifest itself into a state of mental distress. Now, when you're talking to someone in a state of overwhelm, it's very difficult to prioritize going to the gym, eating clean, being healthy, saying no, because we've got other more important aspects or urgent aspects of living that we need to address. So what WellTech does, we are a smartphone application for a user, half of the business, where we integrate gamification, telehealth, digital pathology, behavior change programs, and wellness content into a user experience for daily and habitual behavior change. The data analytics side of the business, obviously there's an enormous amount of information or digital footprints created for each user. And at a population level, we're able to analyze these and find clusters of risk and performance that we can then in turn personalize our solution back to those particular clusters. So we work the full end of the spectrum from well-being, wellness, performance into risk identification and mitigation by prevention strategies. And then when people need care, we introduce very specific solutions, telepsychology, telemedicine, and allied health consultations from a distance, which is all the more important now that we have these COVID restrictions. We have care plan capabilities in certain markets for condition management. We work with large employers around the world. To date, we've operated in over 30 countries. We're about to launch our 10th language. And those employers and insurance companies that we've worked both in retail and enterprise span a raft of different industries. Now, interestingly here, these habits that we're starting to coach and starting to train give us the outcomes of health improvement, specifically stress reduction, resilience, and fatigue improvement. Now, we can get into deep granularity of data. Very specifically, on the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see two operating companies, one with a shift change pattern and one with a 9 to 6 desk workforce. Now, very, very clearly, that operating rhythm of the shift change has the triple peaks of spiking stress at the time of shift change. Now, that's tempting comorbidity event. It's also putting people under more stress for even things like workplace conflict, data entry errors, or slip, trip, and fall injuries. So from just a stress metric, we're able to quantify on a continuous capability. We're able to understand how people might be at risk. The Sanofi project is a stress buster project. We are helping people identify stress in their lives and then personalize the way that we can help mitigate that stress for them. I've got a very short overview of what that project looks like.
The Stress Busters app starts you off answering a short 10-question health risk assessment, generating a personalized health report based on your lifestyle, physical, clinical, and mental health scores. You're then presented with a personalized health goal recommendation list to select from. By connecting a wearable or activity tracking app, your dashboard is updated with daily habits, stress, and resilience scores. AI technology then feeds our coach and nudging system to tailor the content that you see in your social feed, further educating you and building a stronger foundation of healthy behaviors. Everything can be connected socially. Community is a really important hub for both group and for individual challenges. Gamification has been built into informational content, leaderboards, and for the consumer, a reward system. There are a variety of other features you can access through the More menu, including your profile with message boards, the ability to heckle and high-five others, earning badges, and accumulating points along the way. This is digital innovation, going beyond the pill to help our consumers live longer, more stress-free lives.
The lovely thing about this is that this is not a spray and pray content distribution. We're actually engaging people and then empowering them towards a change. And that's the exciting part, because we can have a large impact on many illnesses and conditions around the world. With global reach, we're able to affect multiple languages, multiple cultures around the world with a very similar engagement strategy. Thank you very much for your attention. Sanofi, you're a great partner. Plug and Play, a fantastic platform. So again, I hope you enjoy the rest of the afternoon or evening.
Thank you, Scott, for that presentation. Really good to have all those insights. So we already have the first bunch of questions here on our side. First of all, how did your solution translate into tangible outcomes, such as increased productivity, employee loyalty, or less sick leave?
So we have a multitude of data points that we capture per user. Some of those can be through retrospective data analysis from medical claims, can be HR records from organizations around retention and attrition. Net Promoter Score is a powerful monitoring tool for us from a user standpoint. And then we've got biomonitoring that we do through, we can conduct through wearable trackers, heart rate variability, resting heart rate, sleep quality, sleep staging, and then some digital pathology functionality as well for more episodic testing.
Okay, incredible. How does your solution compare to, especially in the diabetes space, for instance, compared to Sidekick Health, which also has a biomarker tracking approach, and thereby also the gamification approach?
Certainly, gamification is a widely used tool. We are not targeting diabetes management as at today. The solutions that we've got are more upstream to diagnose condition en masse, and that's where, in particular, the at-risk and the risk identification is key, and helping people empower towards daily habits as opposed to disease management.
Okay, fantastic. Maybe adding up to that, what's the plan for the future? What do you want? How do you want to extend your portfolio of services you provide?
Well, two ways. One is geography. We're a volume play. We're for everybody to help improve the way that they feel and the way that they live. And certainly is extending that continuity of care into specific condition management and connected patients through vital monitoring and outpatient functionality. So it's a very exciting extension of functionality for us over the next 18 months.
Okay, fantastic. Scott, thank you so much for clarifying all those questions. As always, also thank you for that, for participation at such a late hour for you. I'm really glad to have you. And if you're sticking around, you can also mingle later. And all of you who are interested to talk to Scott, please go to Rema.
Thank you, Fabian. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your evening.
Okay, then up next, we have Music Care, our dear friends. They're based out of Paris, and it has been such a blast to work with them together. So Stefan, after we see a video, please kick it off and give us an introduction to your lovely startup.
So we had a clear brief from the beginning. The brief was to find a music intervention solution. We scouted more than 20 solutions, and Music Care was the only one with clinical study proving efficacy, already present in more than 300 care centers in France.
Currently, we are testing with Sanofi our innovative approach to pain management with patients and doctors. The next step will be to test our strategy development and business model. It is a huge privilege today to work with an amazing team of experts who are dedicated to the success of our project. The knowledge we gained will be utilized for many years to come. Thank you.
And we got the work done in the time frame we had, with positive mindset of the whole team and positive feedback as well. So all in all, it worked great.
Hi, Fabian. Hi, everyone. So I'm Stéphane Guettin, the founder of Music Care. And I would like to thank before to start Fabian, Christina, Felix, and all the team of Plug and Play, and also Sanofi, and to give us this amazing opportunity today to present our work. And with Music Care, we've been working for more than 20 years on effect of music on pain. And I'm pleased to introduce you Steven, who will present you our Music Care solution today.
Hi, everybody. So I am the Chief Marketing Officer of Music Care. Give me 1 minute, let me share my screen. So as Stéphane was saying, Music Care is a clinically proven solution to relieve pain through music. As we all know, over the past years, the use of medication to treat pain, such as opioids, has been exponential. This use is a leading public issue. We also know that patients are looking for other solutions that are beyond the pill, and this is where the collaboration started. So Music Care is a music-based method that has been medically proven to reduce pain by up to 52% with no side effects. I'm gonna play a small 30-second video where you can see Music Care in action in an actual hospital.
Since June 2016, the American Hospital of Paris uses the Music Care method during the treatment of pain and anxiety. Music Care is a digital application in music therapy, making it possible for the medical teams to organize personal sessions for patients in hospitals, who then will be able to continue this care at home thanks to the application. The effectiveness of these sessions has been proven by the scientific research in the treatment of pain, anxiety, depression, sleep disorder, and in the reduction of medicine consumption.
So as you know, pain is an unpleasant sensory and emotional experience. So this is where music comes in on the emotional side. Sensory action is a pharmaceutical solution usually. So analgesic drugs act in various ways in peripherals and central nervous systems. And on the other side, we have emotional action, which is a non-pharmaceutical solution, such as Music Care, which stimulates neurotransmitters such as dopamines, endorphins, and oxytocins. As Stéphane was saying, Music Care is the leader in the science and research of music. For over 20 years, we have partners all over the world, from McGill University in Canada to the Ohio State University to La Sorbonne, and of course, the University of Paris. And again, this has been going on for 1999. Stéphane has been devoted his life to Music Care and the research of music, and there's over 150 peer-reviewed journals. So the Music Care science, the meat behind what Music Care does, is actually the music itself. And the way the music is composed is in a form of a U. As you can see on this graph, the variation of the music has a particular drop, and the music itself is built in that way. So it drops, and then it comes to the bottom of a U, and eventually it comes back up. And when it comes back up, it does not come at the same level as it started, leaving the patient in an absolute state of relaxation, and in some cases, coming out of sedation. So the sensory cognitive effect, we've been proven this in many studies. It's very important to mention the connection between neurofeedback and the hypnoanalgesia to fight the pain and anxiety. So the original music itself, we're very proud that we compose the music with very renowned artists that have worked with some of the legends that we know of, such as Bob Marley, the Wailers. We have Tony Allen, which is part of Blue Note and the jazz label, David Bismuth, a great pianist, Marc Bétrumure, renowned French accordionist, and there's actually many, many more. We can only fit 4 on this screen. And with these amazing composers, we've been able to create a nice synergy between music and science, and music and medicine. And what we've essentially done is taking their art and connect it to vital parameters that allow you to play on the person's well-being. The application itself is a digital e-health app, as similar to most apps that you've probably used to play music, with the component of this medical side to it, where it'll bring you within a treatment. This app is AppCare certified and can be downloaded on any Android, iOS. It's very data-centric, so we analyze the pain levels before you start your session and as well as after. As you can see, we have a 0 to 10. We ask that before and after, and actually patients and doctors and professionals get this data to really see how the pain level of their patient is dropping over time. So music care can reduce, as I mentioned in the beginning, can reduce pain by up to 52%. Here's a study that shows it. So it's basically a study that was taken for 2 sessions per day for 2 months, and it reduced that pain by that rate. And we can see the consumption of antidepressants and other pharmaceuticals would drop or would kind of level off with the use of music care on the side of it. This is another study that talks about the relaxation, the effect. Again, these are all available on our website as well. You see the bisexual index and how the control group and music care group has such a difference. So music care has been validated by many, many institutions and many large groups around the world. We're very proud to work with groups like Baylor, Scott and White, Providence University, United States. There is a long list of universities that are more European, of hospitals and universities. We've also won a few awards, Silver Echo, Trophy of Tomorrow, Demain, sorry for the translation, and Victoire de la Médecine in 2010. So we want again to thank very much Sanofi for what they've done and how they've helped us. And they've really done an intense study over 3 months, covering all angles of music care talk to doctors, talk to patients, talk about what's working, what doesn't, how can we improve, how can we be optimal. This has been an unbelievably valuable information for the company for the future of music care. And this is again the collaboration Sanofi and Plug and Play. So again, the collaboration was always the objective of how do we together fight pain with 2 solutions that we know work. So the pharmaceutical and the emotional action of it. This is where the pill versus beyond the pill, the pharmaceutical and the non-pharmacological. And we want to finish on one great saying by the great Bob Marley: one good thing about music, when it hits you, you feel no pain.
Thank you very much for that great presentation. Well, I assume after the 3 months, you know your company even better now.
Absolutely.
So we have the first couple of questions incoming. The first is, are you primarily acting as an extension or beyond the pill approach, or could you actually substitute pharmaceuticals?
I'll answer that one. So the objective is not necessarily to substitute, is to work with pharmaceuticals. You can, in theory, just use music care, but the objective here is how do you get the optimal rates of pain reduction? And we still know that, again, pharmaceuticals does have an effect. We want to mitigate the quantity of pharmaceuticals and, more importantly, the addiction to it. I think that is where the whole beyond the pill concept comes into play, is how do you take somebody off the need of, like, if I want to reduce my pain, I need to take a pill. No, you can listen to music care, and when it really gets intense, you can take a pill to maximize that effort.
That's a great vision. On another note, how do you select your music interpreters? Do you choose specific artists for certain diseases, or is it more the generalistic approach?
Could you repeat the question, please? That it was a bit low.
How do you choose your artists? Is it you choose your artists for specific diseases, for specific pain, or do you select in a generalistic approach?
So it's more a question of demand and to have a varied selection of music. That's a very good question, but there is no connection between the artists that we choose and the actual diseases or treatment themselves.
Okay, so also the genre wouldn't make such a huge difference.
No, the song itself, all the music is composed the exact same way with that U sequence method. whether it's jazz, whether it's reggae, whether it's world music or even rock. I mean, it's unbelievable how the genres are very, very different, but you're going to see the same effect no matter what song you listen to or by whom.
Okay, very interesting. One more question in that specific regard is, how do you look to further innovate your solution?
So the idea of the objective of MusiCare is to grow, more importantly, the catalog, to work with more and more artists. Because we know that the more catalog of music there is, the more just a standard user will want to grow. We're also working on solutions with immersive imagery, with some very big artists. But our primary focus has always been to focus on the music and grow the music.
Okay, that's very, very good. On another note, a last question, then you're free to go. What's your expansion plan? So currently you're in France, but how do you want to expand that?
So I guess you can say we're very well established in some countries in Europe. The plan right now is to grow the business in the United States. We have some amazing partnerships in Canada as well, I should mention. It's not just the United States. We have some unbelievable connections to the Quebec government, to many top universities in Quebec that specialize in music and visuals. In terms of our commercial strategy, right now we're talking to all kinds of pharmaceutical groups. We're working with hospital groups that have multiple hospitals across the US. We have one pilot hospital that has 18 stations of MusiCare in it, that's providing MusiCare to all kinds of departments. And our objective and our strategy is to keep that tree going.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for answering all the questions. Really appreciate it. And I hope, and I'm sure later on at Remo, multiple people will approach you.
It's our pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Talk to you later. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, then last but not least, we have Healand on the line. They are, I would say, by far the most mature already. But I think Alexandre will tell you more about it after the video.
Project number 1 is about data science. It's about analyzing all the data entered by the Migraine Buddy app users when they track their headache episodes. Our end objective was to gain efficiency on our precision marketing campaigns. Project number 2 with Migraine Buddy was to develop a program to be inserted into the app. The objective was to support Migraine Buddy users to better understand the link between headache and their cognitive abilities. So I've been lucky enough to work on a project that really helped me to gain insight on how data science is transforming and will transform further what we do at CHE.
The current project is a pilot, and I really hope that it will lead to a larger collaboration in the future. The main challenge we had to face was the heavy regulation in some countries, which had a very strong impact on some part of the project that we are conducting together. Hello. So my name is Alexandre Rani, and I'm the program director at Healand. The company is actually based in Singapore, but I work from Paris. So for me, the jet lag is not so important. So let me share my screen. So Healand is the company that is behind the famous smartphone app called Migraine Buddy. With this app, we help people to manage their headache and migraine episodes. So what they do is that they can identify the triggers of their headache and try to avoid them, and also identify the relief methods that works best for them. Today, we have 2.5 million users and more than 50,000 reviews in the different app stores. And every single day, we receive at least one review of happy users from whom we improve the quality of life. That's a very great reward and motivation. We designed the app with only the sufferers in mind. So that's why it's so successful. Our founder and CEO is a migraine sufferer himself and a perfectionist. So he has a special interest in making it work. The Migraine Buddy app is free for anyone to use, but recently we have introduced paid optional programs that users can subscribe to. These programs are educational and cover topics such as nutrition, lifestyle, medical aspects of the condition, etc. They also include tips and tricks and exercises, and people find them very useful. And some of these programs are also free of charge. We have paid and free. Today, 93% of the people using an app to track their headaches and migraine use Migraine Buddy. So we are really the leader of the market. And with all these users and the millions of headaches and migraine episodes recorded, we have a huge amount of data. And the source of this data are first here what patients enter themselves in the app to follow, to track their episodes. Second, the sensors from the smartphone. And finally, we conduct also specific surveys to explore and refine the data. And with all this knowledge, we are able to help companies who want to help patients. So the services we propose to the companies as a B2B service range from marketing to clinical, with first media campaign within the app, market insights, that's what we worked on with Sanofi, digital therapeutics, but also real-world evidence and clinical digital studies that range from patient recruitment only to full management of the study. So that's in this framework that we collaborated with Sanofi, the consumer health department. Sanofi is interested to better understand the patient condition and provide solutions to help them improve, as Celine mentioned in the video. So what we built is a dashboard to explore the data and to do this data science that Celine mentioned. With this dashboard, we have identified a number of insights related to the symptoms experienced by the users, the relief method they use, and also how they are managed their headache. So during these 3 last months of collaboration, we conducted a pilot in 1 country. We identified the needs, implemented the relevant dashboards, and brainstormed also on the insights that are now being translated into actions. Of course, I cannot give you more details here on what we found exactly, but we are all convinced that those insights will be very helpful for Sanofi to provide better services to the patients. Sanofi is also interested to work with us on the aspect that Arsh mentioned in the introduction. It's the beyond the pill topic, because Sanofi is not about selling drugs only, but it's also about understanding how people are going to use the drug and how the patient is going to manage the disease. So the medication from now is just one element of the integrated healthcare solution. So now the next step after the pilot country is to replicate the data analysis on 4 additional countries in order to generate insights specific to these countries. Oops, sorry. So at Hilint, we are very satisfied with this win-win collaboration. It has been very enriching. I think that both partners will grow from it. Sanofi could benefit from insights that they didn't have the tools to generate. And Hilint learned a lot also with the challenges and questions that were raised that helped us to improve our products and outcome. So the team, the global team, Sanofi plus Hilint, was really in an agile mode and very efficient, and we could really do a lot within these 3 months only. I would also like to thank Plug and Play for their support and the initiative, the networking opportunities and training offered. I think it's a great opportunity for Hilint to be better known in Europe. And I wish we could all be together in Munich to celebrate with a pint of Polana. Thank you.
We are really wishing that as well. But maybe there's some time in the future to do that. Alexandra, thank you so much for that presentation. We actually already have the first couple of questions coming in. One amongst them is, are you looking to expand your product portfolio in the future beyond migraine?
Yes, we do. We are working now on a new app that is called Clario that has just been released or is going to be released in a few hours. So it's the good day to talk about it. That will be focused about pain in general. So we start with low back pain, and we will focus on new chronic conditions in the future.
Fantastic, that's great news. On another note, how far along the process are you from well, managing your condition? Do you have already the first capabilities to actually predict migraine situations?
So predict migraine, that's something we are able to do. That's not something we really propose. We can predict the end of an episode, but for, let's say, ethical reasons, we don't want to predict the start of an episode, because of course, if you know that you will have a migraine, you will have it. It would be maybe even worse because you expect it.
Okay, fantastic. Then, Alexandra, thank you so much for your time, for your presentation and answering all the questions. We really look forward to have you around for a beer.
Yes.
And also later to network a little bit more. So,
thank you.
So that was the last startup we see today. Thank you very much, all of you, for the interest and for the participation. That's it from my side. Handing over again to Friederike and to very good visions of our part.
Thank you very much, Fabian, and thank you very much, Sanofi and the startups for sharing what you're doing together. I think the comments from the startups show that this collaboration really adds a lot of value for both sides. So we're extremely proud that you are partnering with us and that we can support you with your mission. With that being said, these were our startup pitches for today. We are proud that we are working alongside such inspiring minds with a mutual goal to make all of our lives better, especially in these times, to work on our health together and to transform healthcare together. So I wanted to mention this to everyone, that I think the teamwork that we're showing across all the companies, from the startups to the corporate partners to us, is really valuable to us and is very special. So thank you very much for that. With that being said, we would like to encourage everyone to please start the startup pitches and the voting for the poll, which is through Sly.do or our event app. And after the next two speakers, we will announce the best virtual pitch award during our program. Our pitch trainer has been working together with our startups, focusing on virtual pitches, which I think all of the pitches were great. So that's a hard choice with lots of personal notes on it. So thank you all for participating and for joining us today. So thank you for that. And with that being said, I'd like to hand over the word to Dr. Uwe Gottschalk, Chief Scientific Officer of Lonza. Uwe, thank you for joining us today virtually. Lonza is an anchor partner at startup Creasphere and will also be joining us for the next batch. And Uwe, thank you for sharing a couple of words with us today. So Uwe, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Friederike. Thanks for having us, and thanks for the opportunity to introduce Lonza and also to provide some ideas as to how we can fit into the plug-and-play Munich healthcare hub and what kind of spring we can bring into the future of that. So Lonza, in essence, is a Swiss blue chip company and pretty much known to everybody in Switzerland, less so outside Switzerland. And the reason being that we are a contract development and manufacturing organization, so a supplier to the pharma, biotech, and specialty ingredient industry. With a worldwide presence. We have 15,000 employees and more than 70 manufacturing and R&D sites across the world. We bring 123 years history. Lonza was founded in the Swiss Alps, actually in the mining industry, so totally unrelated to what the current core of the company is. But that said, it's very important also to stress that we are not pharma. We work with pharma customers, so the Roches and Sanofis of this world, to enable them to serve their patients. So patients are the customers of our customers. And of course, this is a very important enabling role that we play. And maybe just this translated into a number, what it means in any particular year, such as 2019, we are supporting more than 1,000 molecules, so programs across large and small molecules, across clinical development and also commercial manufacturing. And that, of course, means a lot. And that tells you that Lonza is the largest CDMO, so contract development and manufacturing organization worldwide. And our mantra is that we deliver the medicines of tomorrow already today. And what it means is it has also an innovation spin, and it has an aspect that needs us to stay ahead of the curve, because what we are offering in terms of products and services to our customers, that needs to be, of course, competitive, and that needs to be attractive. Otherwise, we wouldn't sustain in our business. And so what it also means is that this is basically the reason why we are here with you today and why we joined the program, and why we are looking forward to externalize part of our activities, because there's always the make or buy choice for us. We can invent stuff inside the company, but more wisely, we can screen the outside world for respective solutions. And to give you a taste of what that means, I have brought you, first of all, a specific example of how we introduce innovation in our manufacturing and process development world. You know that CAR-T therapies bring a breakthrough to cancer therapy, to certain kinds of cancer which can be cured now, which is basically a revolution in medicine. But if we look at the processes behind that and the many, many manual handling steps between extracting T cells from patients, manipulating them outside the body, reprogramming them, and retransplanting them back into the patient. And if you then imagine we want to treat hundreds of thousands of patients ideally, annually, with such a method, then you can imagine, based on the current methods, which have serious limitations in terms of not being automated and not being integrated, and carrying all the risk of failure, where really patients are absolutely depending on a positive outcome of such a manufacturing train, then you can imagine that the whole sector needs a sustainable solution. Otherwise, we will hit the wall, not just cost-wise, but also from a sheer sheer supply security standpoint. In this area, and with this question in mind, we came across a smart solution from a Canadian startup company called Octane, which generated an idea for experiments on board of the space shuttle. That's why it is so very well worked out and so neat, and such a nice piece of engineering solution. And what it is, what you can see there on the picture, is we can, per patient, based on a single-use, disposable, customizable cassette, manufacture T cells. Let's say it's a CAR-T process inside for one patient, in an autonomous way, in a fully closed setup, because this cocoon, and the platform is called the cocoon, is basically good manufacturing practice in a box. And with no manual handling, we can do the cell extraction, the expansion, the transfection, and then, of course, the propagation of the cells all the way down to the receiving end when we get a dose that is retransplanted back into the patient. And this is fully automated and does not require any additional manipulations, and it can be scaled up so that on a very small footprint, material for hundreds of patients can be made in parallel. And this is, of course, based on a very capable, scaled out process, rather than occupying clean room capacities with many workers manipulating inside. So this is a solution that made us investing into the company, which is now 100% daughter company of Lonza, and we are in the process of re-spinning this out to make it even more look like a startup and run it as flexible as possible. And this is, of course, when we had what we had in mind when we joined the Plug and Play program, to look for the next challenges, the next big things. And again, this is very much in the context of next level manufacturing solutions. And here I have two examples that I would like to bring to your attention, because this is the basis for the batch 5 tasks, focus areas that we will bring. The first one is about exosomes. Again, you may have heard about that. They are extracellular vesicles that stem from the endosomal background of cells, and they contain material, RNA, DNA, proteins that are a perfect representation of their parent cells. They have preferential delivery sites within the body, because all this is intercellular communication, and it's basically the FedEx system of the body. And of course, this can now be used for all sorts of applications, such as therapeutics, drug delivery, but also inside those exosomes are biomarkers that are representing the origin, and such an origin could be a tumor cell. So to make a long story short, one of the application areas is actually in diagnostics, because with the content of such tumor-derived exosomes and especially RNA, which is otherwise very difficult to be extracted because it's so sensitive, certain diagnostic markers become available and can be used as cancer diagnostics or as companion diagnostics, and this in a new format also, because here we talk about liquid biopsy, which holds a big potential in future diagnostics. And then the second example, in a nutshell, the world beyond antibodies. We look into pipelines of our customers, and antibodies, vanilla antibodies, quote unquote, are the exception rather than the rule nowadays. And we look into a zoo of next generation modalities, formats that are related to antibodies or even unrelated to antibodies. And of course, they cannot be produced with the same set of technologies. And here we are looking, and we hope that you can help us find startups that are active in this area for next generation expression systems that are capable of making such products in a way that we can really manufacture that in the required scale. So I leave it here, very much looking forward to the next batch. And from what I heard today, I'm very optimistic that it brings us to the next level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Uwe. Thank you for sharing and for explaining us what you're doing and what you're also looking for within this partnership. And we also hope that we will find the right solutions for what you're looking for. So thank you very much for that insightful presentation. And now, last but not least, as a final keynote speaker for today, we have Dr. Marianne Janik, the Country General Manager of Microsoft. Welcome, Marianne, and thank you for joining us today and for also giving us a brief overview of what you do and what you do with us. So welcome, nice to meet you virtually, and the stage is yours.
Thank you very much for your kind words, and thank you for having me this afternoon. We've been really enthralled with the quality of the pitches we've seen through the afternoon. And I don't want to pick any favorites, but I still really empower patients, doctors, researchers, developers with innovative solutions and also leveraging technologies. So I just want to name three: Eco AI, I really like that, Sorchero, and Grab, difficult to pronounce, Kraken Lab, was sort of empowering developers with open source. Nice to watch and hear, because this actually aligns very nicely with Microsoft's mission to empower healthcare organizations to achieve more. And moreover, these are also areas where Microsoft can really contribute with technology expertise and innovative and secure platforms. Now I'd like to take a little bit of time and take the opportunity to elaborate why we see this today as an important connection and what we think we are able to do to enable. And you know, for us, it's really nice, and my slide is not moving. I don't know what's happening. Slide is not my friend. Here we are. So for us to join startup Creasphere, powered by Plug and Play, is something that's close to our heart, because it's for us, you know, being part of a broader ecosystem, and certainly also the sense we had this afternoon that this is an open innovation platform. So being a new member of the community is a unique opportunity for us to explore new ideas, to mentor, to learn, to grow together with startups, but also with other partners. Because in Microsoft, our goal is actually really to empower people, organizations to address the complex challenges facing the industry today. And the way we contribute is really by co-innovating, collaborating with our customers and partners as the trusted technology provider, enabling everybody to deliver on their mission. So as an example, be it faster clinical advancements, equipping the workforce with collaboration tools, improving manufacturing throughput by helping you know, to ensure that data are compliant, that we are treating data confidentially. I can assure the integrity of data and also the accessibility of data. At the same time, as I mentioned, for us, the notion and the relevance of ecosystems is very clear. So we understand the significance of having the right constituents, the right partners of an ecosystem to empower these, let's call them data-driven innovation, and also recognize that, you know, the biggest part of innovation actually today happens at the edge, but happens also in working together with startups. And that's why we do everything we can to help startups succeed. If I look at the mission, so specifically for healthcare, we have also looked what can we as Microsoft really provide to this industry? And we look at it by having three main topics, three pillars as we call them. And the first is certainly a very important one, because healthcare is indeed a matter of trust, and both looking at the commitments for security and meeting industry compliance standards, certification. And that's what we see as our role here, to ensure that our platform meets these certifications. So for us, it translates really in a very high level of commitment to trust, to security, to the investments we do. So it's about $1 billion per year on security, running a cyber defense operations center, bringing together all these signals and all the responses from the experts around the world, and obviously also sharing all this know-how we have, getting all these alerts we have on our own infrastructure. The second part would be the scale part, because at the end, you know, especially for smaller companies, it's in today's world difficult to really get to a point where you can build a business that is ready to scale. And there are 2 points on the scale part. One is certainly the infrastructure. So let's say the cloud infrastructure, where we have invested 15 billion the last years in cloud infrastructure and have more than 1 million physical servers across 45 regions. And more important than the technology is certainly that, you know, we have certainly the most mature partner program, because as a startup or a smaller company, if you don't have this partner ecosystem to bring you to new customers, to help you tap into other ecosystems, meet other people, it's going to be very difficult to scale your business. And the third pillar would be what we call democratization of technology, is that certainly that's the big difference for, let's say, 20 years ago, where all these technology was a technology that was reserved for elites, people that could afford it. Today, at least our goal is to support everybody with the most intelligent platform, and certainly also very important to us, never use the data that would be on that platform and never compete with the startup, or never want to, you know, buy parts of the startup or get a financial interest just to provide technology. So in these 40 years of serving healthcare, we have deepened our expertise and also looked at what can we really do for startups, and certainly the crisis has accelerated these thoughts. What can we really provide for startups? So I've talked a little bit about what partnering means to us, and it's certainly a core tenet of Microsoft's approach to the business with a long history. So, you know, the first day of the PC with IBM at the time, then the development of Office, through to the support of Macs. We've always built on partnership. So working with startups is certainly an extension of that approach. And over the years, we've refined our approaching, how we work together. We made some observation along the way. And this has led us to build our offering to the startup community around, I would say, 4 pillars. The first is the most important, to give startups access to corporate customers around the world, because I think everybody needs customers. The second is to have startups and partners connect with each other. So create a reach, but also create scale amongst partners, possibly. The third part is the protection of IP. That is something where we see a lot of discussion and good dialogue happening around industry, but specifically, obviously, in regulated industry like healthcare, but also FSI. How do you actually protect our IP? And that's, I think, unique for us, that we recognize the importance of intellectual property, and we are undertaking everything we can do to protect the IP of organizations we work with. And the last part is maybe the access part. So how can we, while, you know, constantly, obviously, improving our technology, our platforms, make sure that this technology is going to be accessible to everybody, to large corporations, small companies. And if you look, for example, at the recent announcement we've made around the AI supercomputer last month, and it's really looking at what we're doing in research and looking to make it available to small companies, especially in the healthcare sector. And certainly the crisis COVID has shown how much, you know, this accessibility is important, but also the connection between startups, big corporation, but also organizations like WHO. So everything that we are trying to do is obviously built also on the capability of the hyperscale cloud, something that didn't exist 15 years ago, but where we can now rely on and really build to scale. So basically what we are bringing to the table is really our ability to make technology work for you and take feedback and try to do everything possible to bring the most intelligent platform, but also the network around it to partner to customers so that this can help to scale your business. So we have taken the steps to join with, you know, with Plug and Play and to partner with startup Creasphere to help drive this, let's call it an innovation ecosystem in what is actually the most critical infrastructure on the planet at the moment. And I think across all the countries, we've seen where the problems actually are, be it supply chain, but also the biggest issue is certainly how can we share data? How can we accelerate the development of a vaccine? And so we're looking really forward to co-innovating and see what we can collectively as a team achieve together. So hopefully we're welcome at the table as a trusted technology provider, enabling all of us to reach the vision we have, and that can be a different vision for all the companies joining this new community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marianne. Thank you for the explanation, the kind words, and welcome to the platform. We are very excited to have you join us. So with that being said, we have one more agenda item, which is the Pitch Award. And now please take out your smartphones and please on the poll function of the app or on Slido, we have 1 more minute to vote for the best pitch. And the best pitch award winner will be featured in our newsletter, as well as receive a package with innovative goodies for the startup. So now you have 1 minute left to vote for the best virtual pitch, and please all vote. Okay, thank you very much for voting. We have nearly 100 votes and we have a winner. So today's Best Virtual Pitch Award from Batch 4 Expo goes to Sorcero. Sorcero is the winner, so congratulations, Richard. I don't know if you can see this in the camera.
I can.
The winner. So congrats to you. And yeah, you will be featured in the next newsletter of Plug and Play, and we will send you a package to Washington. I don't know when that will arrive currently, but yeah, so congratulations to you and your pitch today.
Thank you so much. And I have to say, in a time where innovation in healthcare has never been more needed in my entire lifetime, it was a real pleasure to work on the incredible innovation platform that Plug and Play, Startup Creasphere, and the Roche team, including Jorge and the great team we worked with, to deliver what we could. And we really hope that by rising to this challenge, we can deliver better solutions in this critical time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Richard. And then we have the scribble board with Olivia ready. Olivia is going to share her screen again, and we're super excited to see what she has sketched during this event. Olivia, if you may share your screen right now, then we can all have a look. It looked already great during the break, and I'm super fascinated with what you've done. So especially now, even including the winner so quickly. So thank you very much. Everyone can have a look by themselves what they see here with all the details. And it's great to have such a memory of the batch and also of the event today, given the current circumstances. I think, yeah, this is great that we're doing this. All right. Let's have a last closer look. And then with that being said, I would also like to thank the entire team here on the ground. I would like to thank our corporate partners, our startups for pitching, for your engagement, especially with these new challenges we are facing. Yeah, thank you to the partners, thank you to the startups, and most importantly, thank you for the team here on the ground. This is all of our success and efforts, and we're a great team, and I'm very proud of what we have achieved, especially in this batch, given the current circumstances. So thank you very much to the Startup Creasphere team on the ground, behind the scenes, from the program management side, the operations side, the business development side, and venture side. Only together we made this happen. So team also stands for together, everybody achieves more. And I think we have all shared this together with the ecosystem of our partners, Sanofi, Roche, Lonza, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the UKSH, and Sana Clinics, and now Microsoft. So thank you very much. And now we have a surprise video prepared with the Startup Creasphere team that we would like to share with you now before we head into Remo. So please stay on for the last surprise video that we have conducted during this special times. And yeah, we hope to see you again in person soon. And we're very, very happy to have you today in this event with over 320 participants. And our next batch starts in October, so please stay tuned and stay healthy, everyone. Take care of yourselves. And now the video of all of us. Yeah, thank you very much.
We were able to engage with innovative and creative companies from 3 continents. So thank you, Yanacare and Zero from the US, Status and Grecken from Europe, and Echo AI from Singapore for working and co-creating with us.
My key takeaway of this batch is that although we are in a difficult situation with a strong team like the Startup Creasphere team, we can still together create and achieve amazing results. Thank you.
The biggest learning for us is that innovation is all about momentum. And all what you can do is accelerate your projects when the momentum is going.
The last couple of weeks have shown me how easy any transition is with amazing partners and great team spirit.
While all challenges have been very different so far, the collaborative and entrepreneurial spirit was perceivable throughout the program.
My key takeaway from our Batch 4 Startup Creasphere program is that it was great to see what we can do as a team. We were able to fulfill the program in a remote and digital way so that even the startups and the corporate partner could work on their projects.
The power we can have as a cross-functional team to bring to life meaningful and innovative projects in a very short time when we are all motivated.
So I'm Christina, the new program manager for Startup Creasphere. Thanks to all for integrating me so warmly to the program. My key takeaway is that with passion you can achieve an amazing outcome. I'm looking forward to many exciting batches to come.
In these special times, the shift to a purely virtual collaboration worked really well. Even though physical collaboration was not possible, we saw fully engaged teams and great pilot outcomes. So yet another successful batch.
What I like most about Startup Creasphere is the agility and the mindset. Whenever you are entering the offices in Munich, it's like taking a deep breath and getting the spirit of innovation.
Thank you very much for your participation today, for staying tuned. Thank you very much for everyone who participated and who contributed to today's event and to the batch, to the startups. And now we hope that you can all grab a drink and join us at Remo, at the networking platform. Please, in the chat box, you will find the link to Remo, and then you just have to double click to join a table, and please switch on your microphone and your video when joining Remo. And yeah, see you all there in a couple of minutes. Thank you very much. And whoever is interested in retail and insurance, we have the second half of our summer summit tomorrow, starting in the morning. And yeah, hope to see you soon. Stay healthy and all the best. Thank you.